Okay, so basically in this video I want to show and demonstrate how you can take a user interface design and then based on that user interface design generate all the front end component that you could implement in your React or Angular or Vue. So what I want to demonstrate is how to implement a component architecture, a front-end component architecture. Because what component architecture allows you to do is to break all your UI UX design into various components that can now be implemented in either using your React or using your Angular or using your Vue. So for example, I have this user interface. This is the user interface from the client. And then what I want to do with this project from a client, for example. So what I want to do with this user interface is to generate all the whole component, all the component, the various front-end component that I could now implement in my let me get in notes, in my React or Angular or Vue. Yeah, so to be able to do that effectively, I have opened this particular, this is a PNG file. I've opened this PNG file on one of the tools I use for my design, which is Concept Draw. So once I open this file on Concept Draw, this is what we have now. So what I want to do now is to start identifying the various component that would make up my front end component architecture. So if you know the whole idea of breaking your UI into component comes in intuitively, I don't know, it comes intuitively. There's no any set rule on how to break your interface, your design into various components. So but I will try and show you how I go about doing this, and this is the type of stuff I enjoy doing. So I'm going to show you how I go about doing something of this nature. So if you look at this particular interface, you will notice you will intuitively see all the components. So what I will do is I will use this something to identify the various. Like, let's see, let's make this. I want to make the color to be transparent. Let me, can I do that? Okay, let's make this color to be red. Let's make it this color. Okay, that's fine. Let's remove the, let's make the fill no fill. Okay, so I think okay, so I have something of this nature. So this is what I will use to show all the various components. So starting off the bat, you can notice that all of this can be, you have all these guys fall into a large component. You can all these things fall into a large component. Then within this large component, within this outer component, I just want to create some space. Yeah, within this outer component, I will have to keep this guy somewhere. I'm copying this guy. Within this outer component, you quickly notice that we have this guy. We have this guy. I could group this component into one. So I'll put this trigger, this part of the UI into one component, and then I will put this part as well into yeah, these guys will be in one component, then this will be in another component. So that is the way, that is basically it comes intuitively. There's no any set through. So I have my outer component that houses all these things. Then within this I have this component and this particular component. So within this upper component, if I identify all the component later, now we do all the naming, we name all our components. So within this, everything, you can split everything into, within this I have this, this particular part, this particular area, I can group that into a different component as well. So we have something of this nature. And then we also have I can now have these as well into, I can now have this particular area as well as my component. This another component. Yeah. So I have this, so I have this, and then there is this particular area as well. That should be a component candidate. So yeah. This is a component. This is a very complex this is a complex design. So, but this is the way to go about identifying out the whole component. You see, yeah. So that is, so within this area. So that is me. I can decide to have, I can decide to put this. I can decide to put every item inside the component. But for me, I don't think I can decide to, I can decide to say, okay, I can decide to say every item here is a component. That is to say, this particular item here is a component, this one a different component, this one is a component, But I don't really know how beneficial it will be. So what, to make things a bit realistic, I need to time myself. I don't want this video to exceed 25 minutes. So I can decide to put everything as a component. That is, this guy will have its own component, this guy will have its own component, this guy will have its own component. But I don't really have much detail about this project. So I just have this design. So, but I can decide, okay, I can decide to have these as a component. I can decide to have this particular stuff here because it looks like a drop down menu. This is a user profile, so I prefer to put it inside its own component as well. This is the user profile component. Then these guys as well, I don't know, I might decide to put them inside their own various components as well, because I don't know, I might decide to put two of them inside one component instead of putting each of them inside one different component. So this is a component as well, you see. So this is a component. So what else can I do? I don't really know what this is all about, but I can see that there is a data display. So this might be a data display. So I can leave this as a form, create a question, leave channel. So I might decide to, because I don't like to have so many. The idea of the way I like looking at component is that generally, most of the time, I don't like having so many items within a component. I just want my component to, I'm composing, as you can see, I'm composing my component. So this big one is a composition of all these ones. So generally, I like following separation of concern, but you have to make a balance between separation of concern and making your application separation of concern and maintainability. Because if you split all your component, everything into their own component, it might be a bit difficult to maintain. So that's why you have to strike a balance. But looking at this, I might decide to put this part of looking at this component, I might decide to split this component into two, this and this as well. So let's just go ahead. I generally don't like putting so many things into, so what I will do is I will identify this as a component, and then for the sake of brevity I might just group these two components. But at the same time, these guys will be doing the problem is that these guys will be doing these guys will be I might decide to group these two together, but we now have a component that does two things, a component containing two buttons. One will allow you to create a question, and the other one will allow the other button will allow you to leave the channel. But the thing is, I don't really know, as I said, I don't really have much detail about this project. So if creating well, let's leave it this way. An alternative, if the logic of each of this is a bit much, then what I might do is to just split them into their various components. So as you can see, I'm rightly identifying all my components. I'm identifying all the various components. So I think I'm done with this part. So let's come within this area. So if you come within this area, within this inner part, remember that, notice that we have, this is easier to identify. We have this component, we have the footer component. This is my footer component. This is my footer component. And this will okay, this is my footer component. And what I would like to do for this component is to, excuse me, because we have several items spread at the end of this, if you look at the way at the end of this layout, we have these items spread toward the right of this layout, and then we have these items spread towards the left of this layout. So for me, I generally would like to ideally put this in a separate component, and then because it will allow me to do the styling easily. So I will put all these into their own separate component as well. So that's the way I'm identifying all the components for this architect. And you notice that we have the horizontal line as well. You might decide to have another component for the horizontal line, but I will just leave it at that. So that is all. Then, without wasting much time, we identify another thing is, okay, we coming to this area. What I will do is it's easier. You will notice that we have this section. We have this section. And then we now have this section as well. So that's the way, it comes intuitively for me. Identifying all these components. So so we have this section, the main panel and the right bar. So what I can do is okay, let's tidy up these guys. Within this area as well, you notice that we have the header. This is the header. Within this, we have, let's identify the whole of this component as one. We identify this as a component. So, and then within this component, I have this area. This will be my header, and then we have the body. So the whole of this will be the body. So within the body, notice that we have we have items. We have these items. These A B C D. Okay. Mm, yeah, okay, we can use flex for that. So we identify, so we have a component. So we have one component. Okay, I think this is just a repetition. This I can what I will do is, this is just a repetition of 6 items. So I will use one component to represent the whole 6 items, since it is a repetition. So this is a component. So yeah, I think so. That is the way I will do that. Then I will come over here. I will identify the whole of these guys, and then I will identify the header. And then what can I do again? These are 4 items, but it is almost one item repeated 4 times. So I will create one component and then loop through in my React or Angular. I will just create one component and then loop through that component 4 times to display. I don't want this thing to. Okay. To display all the whole 4 items. So I would you just leave it as one component. So yeah, then just one component. I think that is all for this section. Then we'll come to this area. This area looks a bit very complex. So we also, excuse me, we also follow the same pattern or the procedure. And the pattern straight ahead, you will notice that we have, okay, let's identify, we have the header. These are the header. We have the header. This is the header to this, and yeah, this is the header of this guy. So within the header, you will notice that I have the top and the top section of the header. This the top section of the header, and then we have the bottom section of the header. So I think that is so if we call the whole of this as the header, then we have top section and the bottom section. And that is the way to, so we have this component. This will be another component, so that is just the way to go about this thing. There is no flow chart, there is no procedure for doing it. It comes intuitively. So it depends. Within this area as well, within this, notice that I have sorting, I have pagination, I have closed, I have all this stuff. So in what I can do, because I don't want my pagination to, I want my pagination to be in a different component. So this particular pagination, I will put it in a different component. And then this particular item, this particular widget will be in a different component. If I have a library, if I might decide to do, if I have a repetition of this will be in a different component. What else? I might decide to put all these things in pending resolution. It depends on how it depends on how I'm getting all this data. If pending closed. So this shows the status, the various status. So I think the ideal thing is to put all these things into their own various component. I think that's the best thing to do. So I will put these guys into their own various components. I will put this guy to their own various component. I think that is the way I like doing it. It's a lot easier to work with. If you are building a very large scale and complicated application like this one, this is the way to do it, so that everything, and then you provide a proper documentation for people to go through. I think that is the way to do it as well. That is the best way to do it. So coming over to this section, depending, I might decide to okay, yeah, I think that is it. This is just a this is just a kind of annotation for what all these things mean. So, but I can see that this thing looks like something that I'll be fetching its data. It seems that I'll be fetching the data for this one. So, because I'm going to be interacting, because this looks like a drop down. So, if I'm going to be doing much interaction with that, I prefer to put it in another control, another component. Yes, and that is the way I like doing it. Put that in a different component. So I think that is it. Our component is shaping up. Then looking at this guy, looking at this, you will notice that this is just one component. The whole of this is just one component repeated severally. So that's the way we look at it. So it's one component that you repeat severally to display different the different items. So to take care of that, I will create a single component. Let me just use this one. I will create a single component for each of these horizontal panel items or display items. So yeah, so no, so what I can do is straight away, I wouldn't want to, if this is a form, straight away, if these graphs have live data, then I will not want to, I will want to put them into their own different components. So I'll put all these graphs into their own different component. Then I might decide to, depending on the complexity, I might decide to put this section into its own component. And then these are the details. So I don't really know much, but you can see that you have this edit, you have this edit, so straight away I will put all these in a different component, and then create this, then this particular section, oh, then this particular section will be in a different component. So I think that is all. So what I've succeeded in doing is to, excuse me, so what I've succeeded in doing is building out all my components. So this is what I will now take. But I've not done one thing. I've not named my, let me just change all this color. Let me see if I can do it very fast. I don't want to waste too much time. What I can do now is to, yeah, so what I can do now is to, let's see. Just trying to change all this color so that, so I think that is so the next thing I will need to do is to, I need to quickly name all my component, because you have to name the component to be able to implement the component within your Angular or React or Vue. So components, I don't really know much about this project, so but I will try and give the names. I will take our time to just give them names, name them properly. That's the way I just want to change all the colors so that I can identify each of the component easily. Okay, just try to change all the colors so that it makes things a lot easier when I'm doing Don't want this to have that color. Just like this to white, like this. Essentially, this is basically the type of stuff I do when a client, brings, gives me. Oh, there is something we missed. So what I like to do is I can take this. What I want to do is to create this. So I like to put everything like this. This should be within another a container, and then before having this. Yeah, so something of this nature. Yeah, so that's the way I like composing my, this is the way I like to compose my components. Yeah, I think I think that is all. That is all apart from naming the component. Let's see if we can name the component. So basically I think the thing we might decide to do is to now name our component. So I think what I generally do is, let me see. First, let's see. Okay, I think yeah, I think this is what I would want to do. I'll put this way. I think this will allow me to. Okay, so I think that let's start from here. Oh no, let's go clockwise. So what you want to do is to, there is this smart where is this my smart stuff? There is this smart connector. Let's see. Okay, this smart connector. So I just want to connect this to this. Yeah. Um I want to piece this stuff up. I need to increase the size, and then I don't need any arrow on it here. I need to increase the size. It's too much. Too much. Getting the balance is always is too close. And then let's make this what color? Let's yeah, I think that is it. So let's call this. So what we will do is let's call this one. What we will do is to center it, increase the size. Increase, should I increase the size to 16? Let's see. So that is basically what you do. You annotate all these guys. You just try to annotate them. So this will be, then go to my smart connector. Where is that smart connector stuff? And then I just want to connect this to this. And then I will name this as so that's the way, essentially that is basically what the way I go about this stuff. Then you name this as true. See, so yeah, so then you take this, just paste this, This should be your number 3. So later on, after doing this, what happened is that this is number 3. So I just want to show, but I think that is basically what I do. Just take the smart connector. I want to connect this. Yeah, so, and I want the color of this guy. So that is 1, 2, 3. That is the way you have to label all these things. You have to properly label, name all your component, because the name of your component is the name that you will implement in your React. So the name of this component is what you will implement in your React. So as well, I don't really know if I we have user management. So like we have user management, like this displays all the user, this displays all this. I don't really know much about this project, but what you can do is you have your module. So you have all your module. The way we do it is that let me see if I can add another page just to show you. Let me just add another page just to show you how. So what you do is we have all our module. Let's say you have module A. You've identified all the components, but all these components may not really be within one module. Like this particular all these components within this section might be in a different might represent a module, a different part of the system. This might represent a different part of the system. Then this might represent a different part of the system. If I've had all the information, then it become a lot easier for me to identify all my module. Because what you want to do is you want to identify all your modules. You want to identify all your modules. You see, you want to identify all your modules. Let's say this might be like module A, and then this might be module B. You know, it's just an illustration. Then within this module this module A, module B, then within these modules you have your component. So that is the way it works. Then you now within these modules you now have all your components. You know, you can call this component let's say component 1, all these components. Then that is the way you identify all your then maybe this component 2, and then all the rest. So that's the way we do it. So within each, so in your folder you have your modules, and then within your folder you have all your components. Then the naming convention is also very important. Like if I want to, like if I'm creating this module, if I'm creating this component, I will put this component will have its own folder, and then that folder will now have all these components. So like this particular component, we have a subfolder that we now house all these other components. Then like this particular component has another component within it. So because this particular component has another component within it, then I have to put, it has to have a folder that will contain. So it's just a proper way of organizing my component to make things a lot easier. And never forget that you have to write a proper documentation. You have to write a proper documentation, because if you don't do a proper documentation, it will be very difficult for you, another developer that does not understand it, to manage your project. But if you, the good thing, the way I like designing my software, I like doing things that I follow standard methodology and document my work as much as possible, so that the next developer that will work on the project will be able to understand the project. So for example, if I want to give these guys a name, I'll give this guy the number one. The number one represent the main container for all this. So I might call it main body. I might refer to number one as main body, then number 2 as my header, and then my panel header or the header, or you can main container. One could be main container. Or how do I do? Should we put it? Okay, let's say I don't really know the US policy. Okay, let's say that this application is for US. Let's call this application US politics. So what you can name number one as US politics component. Then within US politics component, you have the header component and the body component. You see, within the body component, you have all these other components. So you have to properly name all these things. I don't want the video to go too much. I would have taken the time to properly name them. But maybe that will be for a different video. But this is the way to identify all your whole components. You know, it's very easy. With this, you can just compose all your components. We have a component composition. Like for example, this outer component is composed of this inner two components, this one and this one. So this one is composed of 2 and 3. 3 is composed of other components as well. So I think that is the way I go about taking my interface design and splitting all my interface design into the various components that I will implement in my React or Angular or Vue. So yeah, if you need more information about this, or if you have a project that you feel that this particular explanation could, a project that could benefit from this particular explanation, you can always feel free to contact me via my LinkedIn profile or through my Cellghost Technology. Let me get this. So you can always contact me via my LinkedIn profile or through Cellghost. If you just Google Cellghost Technologies, then you can go to contact. Yeah, if you go to contact, you'll be able to contact me and then to discuss. But this is the standard methodology, you know. And the benefit of building your application using this format is that it becomes a lot easier to extend. You can easily extend the application. You can easily, if another person is coming in, it becomes a lot easier for the person to have a grip on this particular project and go straight and start working on the project without much issue. So I think that is all for now. Yeah, the video has gone a bit too much. Yeah, but thank you very much for watching. Yeah, if you watch the video via YouTube, please endeavor to subscribe to my channel. That will encourage me to keep churning out awesome videos like this. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, bye.